Hello, Keith Rucker here at VintageMachinery.org. Guys, today I thought I'd put together a little odds and ends video for you, and we're going to start out here by featuring our two new shop cats. This is Marianne and Ginger. Y'all have shown y'all before. We rescued these kittens a while back, a couple of months ago, found them where they had been abandoned on the side of the road, and brought them into the shop, and they have taken up residence here pretty well, and I'm enjoying having these little kittens around. Anyway, they are growing. They're much bigger now than they were when I first introduced them to you guys, but everybody's been asking about the cats, so I wanted to make sure we got them up on here. So I've got a bunch of items that have come into the shop over the last month or so. We got a combination over here of viewer mail. We got some purchases. We got some new acquisitions, just some different things, and some pretty interesting things. So I thought we would share some of that. Before we do get into that, though, I want to mention one thing real quick. This year, every year around Christmas time here in my hometown of Tifton, Georgia, the local YMCA does a little fundraising thing. They call it the Polar Plunge, where they get some different people in the community to raise money for different charities around town. And on January 1, the deal is that all these people that are doing these things have to go jump into the pool at the YMCA. Yes, I know I live in South Georgia. The Polar Plunge is probably a little bit of an exaggeration. You know, this isn't Minnesota, this isn't Wisconsin, this isn't Canada. It's far from polar weather here, but it usually is fairly cool on that day, and I have agreed to participate in that this year. I would greatly appreciate it if some of you guys out there might consider contributing toward a good cause. And the nonprofit that I'm representing is a group called Call to Care, which is a group that basically here in my community supports foster children, adopting children, basically children in need. And I have agreed to participate in this for them. I'm going to put a link down below in the comments, and I would greatly appreciate it if anybody feels led to do so, to please contribute. The deal is on this Polar Plunge is that the organization that raises the most money gets to keep 100% of those funds. The groups that do not come in first place, they get 50% of the funds that are raised, where the remaining goes to the local YMCA, which is a good cause in itself as well. So either way, the money is going to a good cause, and I've decided to participate in it, and I hope you guys will back me up. And if we get some good contributions, I'll make sure that we get a video of me jumping in the pool out at our local YMCA on January 1, 2021. Hopefully will be a better year than we've had in 2020. So with that, guys, let's get going. I will put a link, like I said, to where you can go make a contribution to that down in the description of this video. And let's look at some items that came in on viewer mail. Well, right out of the bat, before I could even shoot the first scene, I look over here and Marianne has decided to take up residence in one of the boxes that the viewer mail's in. What is it about cats and boxes? If they will fit, they will sit. All right, let's get going. First item here comes from Justin Duffy, who's out in Dickinson, Texas, and he sent along a little electrical crimping tool. And I'm not exactly sure what kind of connectors this was made for. He said he was doing a job with the military, or he had a friend, I think, that was doing a job with the military that had this and gave it to him, and they used it for crimping some type of electrical connector. I need to figure out exactly what kind of connectors this works with, and because I do a lot of crimping of electrical stuff, and I would prefer to use something better than what the little crimps I'm using now. I do think you can change these dies out to fit things, but basically you just put it in there, and it's a spring-loaded lever thing here to crimp something up. So anyway, if anybody recognizes that, or you understand or know where you can get the connectors that this goes with, or other dies for it or whatever, I'd appreciate it if someone reached out to me and let me know. But this is something that I feel like I can use if I can just get the right stuff to go with it. I think it'll be very handy out here in the shop. Like I said, I do a lot of my own electrical work, wiring up motors, and I did all the electrical work in my shop here when we built it, and I think that'd be a nice little thing to have. So anyway, Justin, thank you very much for sending that along. I'll throw that over with my electrical tools, and maybe we can find the right connectors to use with that. Next item here, this is actually a purchase that I made, and I got these are flow meters, by the way, and I'm going to put these over on my TIG and MIG bottles to adjust the flow of the gas for those. Right now, when I got those welders, they just had regular regulators on them. Most people, for using your inert gases in both TIG and MIG, prefer using a flow meter rather than a regulator. The regulators work, but these are just a little bit better. I've been wanting to upgrade them for some time and just haven't made pulled the trigger to buy these. And when I was over at my buddy Al Kimball's shop, Al has a machine shop, welding fabrication shop, a couple hours north of me up in Dublin, Georgia. And I actually paid him a visit this past week when I was in the area. And him and a buddy of his have been going to some auctions, and they picked up a good pile of these in an auction lot. And anyway, I ended up buying 2 of these from him to put on to my welders over there. Really excited to get these. These are made by ProStar. I think these are used, but they're barely used. He had a bunch of different ones in a tub, and there were probably 4 or 5 in there that were these models here that were in really looked like they were practically brand new. We tested them out on one of his bottles, and they worked just fine. So anyway, I picked these up. He charged me $20 a piece for them, which is well below what new ones cost. And I'll be excited to get these installed over on my tanks where I can use them. And I appreciate Al Kimball up at his shop for giving me a good deal on these. And I also, while I was up there, he actually cut some steel for me for my planer restoration. I had drawn up some stuff to make some brackets to hold the counter shaft on my metal planer. And when I was up there, I went ahead and picked those up from him as well. And you'll be seeing those coming up in a future video. But Al, thanks for sharing these with me and giving me a good deal on them. And looking forward to getting them installed. And we'll try them out when we do some welding here very soon, fabricating up that brackets that I need to make for my metal planer restoration. Next item, this is kind of a neat little item. It's neat in the fact that it's something that I can use in shop, but also a little bit of the story behind it. So this is coming from Ben Young down at Sturdy Brothers Manufacturing in Thomasville, Georgia. And he sent me along a shop apron. This is a shop apron that he designed and he sells. And he wanted me to have one and try it out. So I'm going to do just that. We're going to try it out. So this apron's a little bit different than the ones I normally wear, but I kind of like it. It's got a strap that goes around your neck rather than tying it. I'm going to reposition my microphone here. And then you got 2 straps that go around your waist, tie in the back. So anyway, kind of interesting. I'm gonna have to try it out, see how I like it. I kind of like this color. It's going to stain a little bit more than the denim that I'm used to, but I really like this brown color. But anyway, we're going to try it out. A little bit of story behind this. So the gentleman that made this and has this company, Sturdy Brothers, he is actually one of my former 4-H'ers. So if you don't know much about my history, I used to be a county extension agent here in Tift County, Georgia. Did that for about 9-10 years. And during that time, of course, we had our 4-H program and had a lot of really sharp kids come through that program during the time that I was there. And Ben Young was one of those individuals, one of the kids that was in our 4-H program, very successful 4-H'er. Of course, he's moved on, graduated from school and what have you, and he went down to Thomasville, Georgia and started a business called Sturdy Brothers, where they manufacture items like this right here. He does a lot of leather work, a lot of nice, fabric work or whatever. They've got a line of different products that they sell, and he's actually turned it into a fairly successful company. And I have been talking with him mostly through email or whatever over the last couple of months. He wanted to make me an apron and send it to me to try out on my shop and see how it worked out. And I'm glad he did. So what I think I'm going to do is maybe reach out to him and maybe we can design a custom shop apron. I'd like to give a little bit of input on some features I'd like in one. I like this one, don't get me wrong, but I think there's a few things that if I could have the perfect shop apron, I might change it up. So maybe we can work with him and come up with a custom shop apron that we can make available. and you can purchase them through Sturdy Brothers. So anyway, I thought we'd show this right here. Appreciate Ben sending it along. I'm going to zoom in and show you this little tag that has the contact information if you want to check them out and see what all they have at Sturdy Brothers. Next item here comes from Anthony Alexander, who lives up in Rising Fawn, Georgia. Anthony is a guy I know who follows my channel. I communicate with him fairly often over on Facebook and what have you. But he sent this along to me, asked me if it's something I'd be interested in. And yes, I think it's kind of neat. So this is a little gauge. It's actually made by Pratt & Whitney. But what it is for is it's for measuring the flanges on railroad wheels. This would be specifically on I think cars, not so much the locomotives, if I understand it correctly. I need to do some research and figure out exactly how this is used, but I know you got the flange up here that this little piece right here comes over, and you can check that flange on the rail. And like I said, I need to play around with it, maybe do a little bit of looking to see how you do it. But you can use this tool to determine whether the flanges and the wheels are still in spec or whether they need to be either remachined or scrapped. And you actually got some lines in here, where basically it says, if it's a passenger car, it scraps at this point. If it's a freight car, it scraps at this point. Otherwise, it's within the tolerances, or it can be reworked. Those wheels on rail cars, they are replaced periodically as they wear down, and they have to be inspected and kept in spec. And this is a gauge that would be used to do that. Just something kind of cool. Not that I'm out inspecting railroad wheels all the time, but I thought it was neat. Anthony said he didn't really have a need for it and thought I might appreciate it, which I do very much. So Anthony, I appreciate you sending that along, and I will add that to my collection of conversation pieces. And like I said, maybe I can play around with it and learn how to use it, and just have it kind of as a neat little piece of railroading memorabilia. Thanks for sending it, Anthony. Up next is a little trade I did with a viewer, and guys, I'm going to apologize up front because I can't find the guy's name that sent this to me. He had sent me a message. It was either on Instagram or Facebook one, I don't remember, asking about a machinery's handbook, and just wanted to know if I had an extra one that he would be interested in doing some trading with. And I said, yeah, I think I could probably round one up. And he said, well, I'm going to send you a Streamlight in exchange for it. I said, that sounds great. So, and unfortunately, when I got the box, it didn't have his name anywhere on when he sent it, and I can't find that message now to remember who it was. But regardless, that's what it was. I did a little trading on this. If you're not familiar with these lights, they're really good, powerful flashlights. This one here has an extra battery, and it comes in a little charging station that you can put this right on. It keeps the battery recharged. It also keeps your extra battery charged, and you can plug it either into the wall or into a 12-volt cigarette plug port. And I think what I'm going to do is put this one in my truck and get it wired in there where it basically keeps this flashlight always charged up, and I'll always have a flashlight in my truck because I'm bad about, I try to keep one in there so that when you're out at night and you need a flashlight, you got one, but my batteries run dead, and sometimes when I need it, it's not available because the batteries are dead. So I think they'll be handy to have in my truck. But anyway, I want to thank the person that sent that along, and again, that was a little swap we did, and very nice little gift there. I appreciate it very much, and that's definitely something that we'll put to good use. So I got another box here. This I think came from Michael Price. That's the name that's on the box, but it came from a pack and ship place. I'm not sure if that was who sent it or whether that is the name of the shipping company that sent it. Guys, put a note in these things if you don't mind, or at least make sure you got a good return address on there so I know who sent things. But anyway, not complaining a bit, but just want to give credit where credit's due. But anyway, these are some tool holders that were sent in to me to use on my metal planer. And again, I remember the message, because I get messages on email, I get messages on Instagram, I get messages on Facebook, I get messages on YouTube, and some of them you can't go through there and search very easily. My email I can, but the other ones I have a hard time finding stuff, and there's so many messages just get hard to keep track of. Anyway, I digress. But I had a viewer contacted me, asked me if I wanted these to use with my metal planer, and the answer was absolutely yes. I'm still putting together kind of a collection of some of these tool holders. These you can put the high-speed steel in. I can mount that on my planer, and it will hold a tool bit to go back and forth. And these were actually mostly designed to use on lathes, the old lantern style tool holders on lathes, but they had some of these that were designed specifically for planers, and ones like this, regardless, you could use it on either a lathe or a planer. So very happy to have some more planer tooling, and hopefully we're going to have that metal planer up and running very soon. Anyway, thank you very much for sending these along. So up next, again, this was kind of a purchase, but it was a purchase that came with a big bonus. So I got an email from a guy I've been knowing for a while. I actually met him a couple of years ago up at one of the Iron Fest events, but John DeRosa, who has a little eBay business where he sells mostly taps and dies. He goes out and buys up a bunch of inventory and then offers up stuff for sale. Has an eBay store, and you can look him up under Tap and Die 911. That's his eBay store. Tap and Die 911 is his eBay store, like I said. But he contacted me. He had recently bought out a bunch of machinist tools and tooling. I think he bought a whole toolbox full of stuff and was parting out a bunch of things. And the main thing that I was interested in was this little Reamer index. So he had a nice set of fractional reamers here. Basically in 64ths of an inch. These reamers are in excellent condition. Looks like that they've really never even been used. So a nice complete set. And I asked him, I said, well, yeah, he sent me a bunch of pictures, some stuff. I said, yeah, I'd be real interested in that. So we made a deal on me purchasing this from him, which I thought he gave me a good deal on. But then to sweeten the pot, the box, when he sent the box, he just kind of filled it up. It was a flat rate box, so he just filled it up with a bunch of other miscellaneous stuff. Looks like things that came out of different toolboxes. And there's some good stuff in here. Some really cool stuff. So first off, going along with the reamers, there was a whole box of just little small individual reamers in different sizes. I've got to go through here and get all these sorted out. But these are just really handy for different things. I'll have to see what all's in there. Some other cool things that's in this lot. So this is one of these things that you can clamp onto like a quill on a drill press or whatever, and then mount an indicator on it. A couple of fly cutters. There's a bunch of parts here for these little clamps, machinist clamps. There's some Starretts and some Brown Sharps. Looks like they were a bunch that were extra pieces. And I'm excited to get this because I've got a bunch of these that are needing some extra pieces. So I'm hoping that between what he sent me and what I've got over in my collection, I can put a few more of these together. There's some hold downs here, a little more taper sleeve. Here's some tapered reamers, some ball bearings. We got some dowel pins in different sizes. Here's some little angle gauges that were made by some machinists at some point in time. These are kind of cool. So if you're not familiar with these, this is a set of wedges, and these were sold by Jacobs. This is for a Jacobs number 2. If you ever get a chuck that you need to get separated, basically you take these wedges, it squeezes between the chuck and the arbor that goes on there, and you can tap them together. When you tap them together, that gap in there gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and you use that to separate that arbor from a Jacobs chuck. I've actually got one in a different size that I bought when I needed to get one apart one time, so I'm going to put that one over there with my other set. Like I said, you have different size wedges for different tapers on Jacobs chucks. Just all in all, a bunch of really cool little small items here, but stuff that was pretty much in every machinist toolbox, because this is just kind of stuff you need. So anyway, glad to get all this extra goodies, and really glad to get this set of reamers. I have a bunch of individual size reamers, but I didn't have a complete set. Now I've got a set basically from a 1/16 of an inch up to a 1/2 inch by 1/64 inch. That'll be really handy to have around the shop. John, thanks a lot for sending these along, and go check him out, his eBay store, and particularly if you're looking for oddball tap or die. There have been several times where I have been working on an old piece of machinery that has an oddball size thread, and I've sent him a note, say, hey, I got this size thread, have you got a tap for that? And he's come to my rescue a couple of times over the years and pulled stuff out that was just something really weird that I could use. So good resource to have around. Thanks you very much for sending this along. So here's a pretty neat little item that was sent in by Nathan Vanderslice up in New York. And if you've never seen one of these before, this is a really handy tool to have over on the milling machine. So basically what this is this like a bore scope or a center scope for getting something centered up on your milling machine. So you take this right here and you put it in your drill chuck on drill press or milling machine or what have you. And there's actually a sight. This is a lens down here in the bottom, and there's an eye scope here where you can look down through here, and there's a set of crosshairs that are magnified down in that bottom, down in this optical piece. So you can basically center up whatever you're wanting to drill very precisely using some optics there, looking straight down on it. Of course, you're looking at an angle, but it's looking straight down on. There's a mirror that reflects that down. And you can use this to very accurately find a center in something. This one's made by Centerscope Instrument Company out of Los Angeles. And anyway, nice little tool to have. I'm going to put this over with my milling supplies, and you'll probably see me using that at some point in time. So Nathan, thank you very much for sending that along. Be very handy, I'm sure. Up next comes a little package that came from Alton Wibsky up in Brownsville, Pennsylvania. Alton's another guy that I know has been a follower of the channel for a long time, and I see him commenting a lot over on Facebook and what have you with stuff that I post. But he sent along mainly this little set of needle files. These little small files are super handy to have around the shop. These are Nicholson's, it looks like. Which is some good files. I have a thing for files. I've got a ton of files. I use them all the time, and these little bitty tiny ones like this are really, really handy. So I'm gonna put this over in my drawer with my files. He also sent along a couple of different decals that he's picked up along the way, and I'll probably put some of those up on my decal board as well. So some nice little things there as well. Alton, thank you very much, sir. Greatly appreciate it. These will definitely be something that we can use. Next item here comes from Larry Dusick out in Tomball, Texas, and Larry sent along a couple of bandsaw blades. I'm not going to pull these out because I don't want them to go everywhere, but these are the right length that fit my dual bandsaw that we recently got up and going. He said he had bought these. They didn't fit anything he had. He sent me the length on them, asked if he thought I could use them, and yes, absolutely. These will definitely work over on the big dual. So thank you very much for sending these along to me, Larry. Greatly appreciate it. And I'm going to put these up. I'm going to leave them in the box, so it'll just be easier to store them that way. And we'll have them when we need them. Next item here comes from Gary Murphy, who's a local guy. I've actually known him for some time. We used to go to church together, used to work together at the University of Georgia when I worked out there. And he contacted me, said that he had these boxes with a bunch of control buttons and switches and what have you in them. He said that years ago he worked for a company not far from here that manufactured alternators, and they had an auction, they had a sale of stuff. He bought a couple of cabinets during that auction, and when he got home, the cabinets, he couldn't open them to inspect them when they were doing them, but basically whatever was in the cabinets came with the cabinets. And when he got home, these boxes with all this electrical stuff were stuffed in those cabinets, and he really didn't have a need for them. Asked if I could. And it was kind of ironic because I've been getting some start-stop buttons that I need to do some electrical control, some motor control, and I'm gonna be able to salvage some of the buttons out of this for some projects I got going on around here. I don't know that I'll use the boxes, but the individual buttons and the controls definitely can use some of these. So I'm gonna definitely put these to good work. And Gary, thank you for thinking of me, and I enjoyed having you come by and visit the shop the other day when you dropped these off. And you'll probably be seeing these in some projects coming up down the road as well. And there we go. We have cleaned our bench off, and we have gone through another episode of Odds and Ends. Hopefully you saw a few things in there you enjoyed, and I'm always appreciative of stuff that folks are kind enough to send in and sharing with you guys things in the shop. Hopefully it helps you guys get ideas and learn about new tools, and just see some interesting things that get used around the shop. And with that, that's pretty much going to be a wrap on the content of this. Just a quick reminder, please help me out over on my Polar Plunge. Go help support us over there. If you don't mind, click on that link down in the description. Kick in a few bucks, that'd be greatly appreciated to help out a good local cause, and help me out as well so that we can show everybody else around town that my supporters out there are better than the supporters that are helping out with some of these other guys that are in the same contests I am. So anyway, help me out on my Polar Plunge quest this year. And with that, that will be a wrap. As always, thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate the subscriptions. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Appreciate those comments, and we'll catch you on the next video. As always, thanks for watching.